Hey everyone, welcome to Movie Watch. I'm your watcher Steve, and today I will be giving you my review of the new movie Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is a 2023 biographical thriller film written and directed by Christopher Nolan and is based on the 2005 biography American Prometheus by Kai Bird and Martin J. Sherwin. The film is an account of the career of the American theoretical physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, with its main focus being Oppenheimer's studies and his direction of the Manhattan Project during World War II, as well as his fall from grace after his 1954 security hearing. The film stars Cillian Murphy as Robert Oppenheimer, with Emily Blunt alongside him as his wife Kitty, Matt Damon as Leslie Groves, the head of the Manhattan Project, Robert Downey Jr. as Lewis Strauss, a member of the United States Atomic Energy Commission, and lastly, Florence Pugh as Jean Tatlock, a member of the USA Communist Party. As this is a big, long movie, I won't be going over the entirety of the events of the film. Rather, I will go over the main points. To begin with, we find Oppenheimer at Cambridge under experimental physicist Patrick Blackett. He's homesick, anxious, and struggles with the required lab work. A visiting scientist by the name of Niels Bohr recommends that he study theoretical physics in Germany instead, which is where he completes his PhD. He then returns to the US and begins teaching at the University of California and the California Institute of Technology, where he meets his future wife Kitty, a biologist and ex-communist. Oppenheimer also has an affair with Jean Tatlock, who is a current member of the Communist Party. Then, in 1938, Nazi Germany scientists first split the atom, which spurs Oppenheimer as well as the rest of the world's scientists into a frenzy, with many replicating the results. Not long after, in 1942, U.S. Army General Leslie Groves recruits Oppenheimer to lead the Manhattan Project to develop an atomic bomb. As Oppenheimer is Jewish, he feels strongly about the need for the Allies to develop their own nuclear weapons program and agrees to form a team, where he recruits Heisenberg, who is known for the uncertainty principle and for being awarded the 1932 Nobel Prize in Physics for the creation of quantum mechanics, as well as Edward Teller, the man who would go on to become the father of the hydrogen bomb. Not long into their research, Oppenheimer and his team realize there is a small possibility that an atomic detonation could trigger an astropheric chain reaction and destroy the world. In the end, though, the team continues on with their calculations and studies. Eventually, Germany surrenders the war, which creates tension amongst the team, as some of the scientists question the relevance of an atomic bomb now. But Oppenheimer disagrees, believing that it would quickly end the ongoing war in the Pacific and save countless Allied lives. So, the work continues, until eventually the day arrives of the Trinity test, where the successful detonation of an atomic bomb is completed and President Truman orders for Hiroshima and Nagasaki to be bombed, forcing Japan's surrender. Afterwards, it's clear that the mass destruction caused by the bombings haunt Oppenheimer, who urges President Truman to restrict further development of nuclear weapons and advocates against further nuclear research. This doesn't go well for him, though, as his views become a point of contention amid the Cold War. And, after publicly humiliating Lewis Strauss, the AEC chairman, his security clearance is revoked at a hearing due to his past associations with the Communist Party members, and his public image is left in tatters. Strauss, who resented Oppenheimer for the humiliation he caused, having organized the hearing to remove Oppenheimer's clearance, gets his own comeuppance though, as later, at a Senate confirmation hearing for Secretary of Commerce, his motives for Oppenheimer's downfall are revealed to the world and the US Senate vote against his nomination. And that's a rough summary of what takes place in the film. First of all, going into this film, I was a bit like a blank slate, as I really didn't know all that much about the Manhattan Project or Oppenheimer in general, so I can't really speak to how accurate the film is to reality. But I will say The film is very informative. I learnt a lot about Oppenheimer and the project, and it really was quite interesting. Nolan did a great job of explaining everything to the masses. I'm obviously no physicist, and neither is the majority of the world, so I found that he did a really good job of putting everything into layman's terms so that his audience could understand everything that was going on. I had no issue with understanding what was happening, and the scientific problems that they encountered were clarified really well. The direction of the film was great. However, I did find it a bit daunting at times, as we would often move from one time period to another at the drop of a dime. So if you aren't paying proper attention, this could become a bit frustrating. It was unexpected in the beginning too, so when it first happened, it was a bit like, wait, what's happening? This is especially the case for those like me who had no clue of Oppenheimer's story prior to the film. The cast were excellent though. Cillian did a wonderful job as Oppenheimer. I personally found his Oppenheimer to be quite relatable in that he was a flawed man. He was by no means perfect. Yes, he was a genius, but he was a naive man who didn't fully understand what his creation would mean for the rest of the world. At times I found myself disliking him too because he was a bit of an ass. The rest of the cast were brilliant too. I'd say second behind Cillian would be Robert Downey Jr. for me. I thought he did a great job at playing Strauss. His character was so different to what we've become used to seeing from Downey. It was great to see him play the antagonist and a man that was so insecure he needed the approval of all those around him and to be accepted as a peer. I also really liked the interactions Oppenheimer had with Matt Damon's character as well. I thought the two had great chemistry together. The scenes they shared were some of my favourites, but I'd have to say my absolute favourite scene between cast members was with Emily Blunt and Cillian Murphy. I really would have liked to have seen more of her. For an actor as big as her, I found that she was a bit of a side character. I don't think we really saw all that much of her, and I think that's a shame. Emily definitely proved in this that she has the acting chops to appear more. And that's not my only gripe with the film either. The biggest is its length. It is a long film, and unfortunately, I felt it. I was loving the story and very interested in what was happening, but the story moved slowly. I felt like I'd been in the cinema ages, and I looked at my watch to see how long there was, and there was over an hour left. If I were to watch this one again, I'd definitely make sure I went to a daytime screening or watched it at home in my own time. Don't see it at night if you're tired, because it will drag. That's not to say I didn't enjoy it, because I did. And I think, unfortunately, there was no avoiding that issue either, because I think everything that was included in the film needed to be there. There's just so much that needed getting through to tell the whole story. I'd just say, before going to see it, make sure you're awake and ready to absorb it all. Go to the toilet before sitting down and bring lots of snacks with you, because you will need them and you really don't want to miss out on any of it. But that's all I really have to say on Oppenheimer. I hope you enjoyed this review, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.